Hello, welcome back. It is Jack Mack, High Top Sports Georgia, and ladies and gents, we got a college football playoff field. Not perfect, but hey, me and JT's teams are dancing to the next round. Um, got a lot to cover. Going to get into these first round matchups. Going to talk about some potential Big Ten biases like we did last show. We're going to clean that up, have some evidence even to support that. Going to get into a potential dark horse team. And as always, our bets for the first round. If you could like, comment, subscribe. Our goal before this first game, which I believe is the Indiana Notre Dame on that Friday, is 400 subscribers. So help us out. Let's get it there before the playoff gets rolling. But first, JT, initial thoughts as we get this show on the road.
Excited to get started. I know, a couple of weeks, I'm ready for it to be here. I kind of want to skip next week and just get to the games here. But happy to be in it. Been a long time coming for my team. Haven't had much success here within the last 2 decades, but looking forward to see how it kind of plays out here. I think there's a lot of people that are disappointed in how the bracket looks, including myself, for Tennessee reasons, as well as 12 best teams reasons. And I think a lot of people are questioning the Arizona State, Boise State bye. They earned it. That's the format we have for now. And then we have the number 16 team in the country sneaking their way into the 12 best teams. So, a lot to work on, but excited to see how it plays out here. I think we have the possibility for some March Madness type mayhem here. So, got some hot teams. Arizona State might shock some people. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a perfect system, but it's more college football. So I'm a fan of that. More college football games, more games for some gambling action. So I am all for it. But to your point about not getting the 12 best teams, I would take it a step further. I don't know, JT, if we have 12 good teams in the country, and I know that their initial thought was go from 4. Well, if we go to 8, maybe leaving some people out, let's just be safe so we don't have to do it again and go to 12. Well, I think they overshot it initially. To me, there are those first 6 teams. They can win, or no, I'm sorry. I say first 6 teams counting. See, this is where it gets us messed up. I say first 6 teams, then you got Boise State. I do not count them. Let me name them. Penn State, Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, Tennessee, Texas. Those are my 6 teams that I believe can win. The other 6, congrats. You got a check for next year, maybe result in some NIL money. But yeah, that's my biggest take is there enough good teams?
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with you. I think you have some teams that are riding in hot here, like in Arizona State, and so far, I would say that they're a good team. The level of competition hasn't been there. Scatabo is unbelievable. The guy's incredible to watch. They destroyed Iowa State in that game in the Big 12 championship, and really had a good showing. I think if you look at that game and it's a close game, maybe we're sitting here having a little bit of different of a conversation about Arizona State, but to me, they've looked really good. And then the 2 ACC teams for me, I kind of questionable. SMU hasn't really played anybody all year. All power to them. They had a great season. And then Clemson has played some good teams, but the SEC teams they played haven't looked so good. So level of competition is going to be.
Of course, this show is brought to you by BetUS. And when you use the code YouTube150 at betus.com on your first deposit, you get back 150%, up to $2,000. Now you can gamble on NFL, college football, basketball, baseball. The World Series are coming up. We got college football at an all-time high. Heisman winners are going back and forth. Who's going to win the SEC? Who's going to win the Big 12? All kinds of things. You can literally gamble on anything you set your pretty little mind to. And on your second and third deposit, you get back 125%, up to $2,000. So be sure to go check out betus.com. Use the code YouTube150 to take advantage of these offers while they still last. Now back to the show.
Issue for some of these teams, I think, especially for teams, that are coming out of other conferences. I don't want to bring on the SEC bias here, but some weak schedules for a lot of these teams in this thing. So it's going to be some tests out there.
That's right. I mean, I've already heard ADs, the Alabama AD. I don't know if you saw that on X. He posted something about already trying to change a schedule for next year, and they got community noted. And it said like, well, an easier schedule would help, but you scheduled Mercer the week before you lost by 21 to Oklahoma. It was a community note. It was hilarious. What a day for other SEC fans that have had to live under this tyrannical rule that is Alabama football. Got to kick them while they're down. I mean, we have no other choice. But that was funny. But, to your point about biases, and again, we're in the dance, but we're not crying over spoiled milk, I don't think, JT, because we have some numbers to back it up. So let's go ahead and get into it. I think you have a stat for us, a very interesting stat about one of the better teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah. So I got a little trivia question for you. When do you think the last time Ohio State beat an SEC opponent was? Got to be like pretty recent, right? They've been really good. They've been really good up there pretty much every year.
Yeah, I mean, they've played. I know they've played Georgia a couple times in the playoff. I don't remember very many positive results. I don't remember that many results at all. But continue. I'm intrigued.
2014 was the last time they beat an SEC school. 2014. They had a really good team last year. Went down, what was it, the Cotton Bowl? Played in the Cotton Bowl against Missouri. Got waxed. I think the last time they played Alabama, it was 52-24. I think that was the final score. And I think they played a few other teams. I think South Carolina's mixed in there somewhere, lost to them. So I haven't really beat anybody, to be honest with you. I haven't beaten an SEC team, that's for sure. So,
Well, and that stat itself is staggering. But what's even more staggering is the fact that I have never heard that before. 10 years. We're going on 11 years of not winning against an SEC team. You would think that's a pretty good data point that you could throw out when you're making these discussions on, on resume, things like that. Again, got to bring it back to the SEC. You think we would have heard that stat if there was something like that? If Alabama hadn't beaten a Big 12 team in a few years, you don't think we'd heard that every single week? So yeah, going back to last week, and if you missed it, we were kind of talking about how our entire life, growing up, SEC has always, felt like they're the best, and the national media has always been like, well, it's just a SEC bias. You think you're the best because everyone plays each other close, but we're starting to realize that it could be all a cover up for these Big Ten teams to cover themselves and get these extra bonus points, I guess you can call them, to boost themselves up. So, it's, again, that stat is staggering. And I just think in order to avoid issues like this, where, and this is kind of separate, but, we're looking at a picture of the athletic director of Michigan right now, and he's in charge of this thing. A lot of money's involved for these conferences. He gets paid on these things. I just think there's a little bit too much conflict of interest sometimes. So, yeah, I just think there needs to be a little bit more of a structure written down. Hey, these are quad one teams. This is a quad one win with these criteria. But to kind of, I know I kind of jumbled these thoughts together. But yeah, I just think it's Big Ten kind of covering themselves for lack of scheduling any good opponents.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. And it seems like every time we've watched, the playoff show every Tuesday that they come out with, they interview Ward Manuel and they ask him these questions, about, why is this team here? What was the decision here? This, that, and the third. And I mean, do you remember, can you name a time that any answer he gave was anything but just a word salad, that there was no definitive answer? I think, they'd have the guy that does Reese Davis. he'd be up there trying, almost cutting off Ward Manuel, trying to ask the next question, be like,
He's great.
This is the question I asked. Like, I'm asking you a question, you haven't answered me once. And so there's got to be. There is a conflict of interest. He is making money, and the Big Ten's going to make money off of
how many teams they get in.
Exactly. And how many home games that they have. You know, I'm sure if he had the opportunity and it was close enough, they would have put Indiana in that spot and gave them the home game over Notre Dame. So, you know, for me, it comes down to when you look at least, you know, the Penn State thing wasn't close and Indiana wasn't close. They didn't, you know, Penn State deserved a home game. Indiana didn't. It was pretty obvious. But if you look at the Tennessee-Ohio State game, and I know I keep going on about this, there's no way that you can sit there and say that a loss to your biggest rival who you've not beaten in 4 years, 5 years, however long Ryan Day's been the head coach, and this was the year that you were supposed to beat them. Michigan is awful. They're a terrible football team this year. And you lost to them at home. For them to sit there and for him to try and validate that is a better loss than Tennessee losing to Arkansas on the road is just, you know, it's crazy to me. You know, it definitely brings in that conversation of that there's bias involved here. And he had, you know, personal gain from making that decision.
Yeah, 100%. You know, that, like you said, they make money by how many teams make it and these home games, and they were trying their damnness to get Indiana a home game. Think of all the propaganda we had to listen to for 3 months about how good they were. They're outscoring everybody. They tried very hard to set it up to where they could back in after a loss to Ohio State, you know, into a home playoff game hosting Georgia. I would have been pissed if something like that would have happened. But, you know, they couldn't save face and do that with a straight face by the end of the season. But, yeah, I mean, to your Tennessee-Ohio State point, from my perspective, the Tennessee, those losses are pretty close. I would say. I would agree with you that the Michigan loss is worse, plus with what else is surrounding that game. You know, 3 times losing. They don't have a guy that can throw a forward pass. We talked about this at length, 60 yards. What I would go to at that point, and what I don't understand, this seems like common knowledge, is look at strength of schedule. You say, all right, now that let's just say we look at these Arkansas, Michigan losses similar. Let's look at strength of schedule. Then, you know, I would say the body of work of Tennessee week in, week out. I mean, I know Ohio State played Oregon on the road, but, you know, the games like you got to play Florida, you know, Vanderbilt. Ohio State doesn't have any games like that. It's either Oregon or Northwestern. So there is a big difference.
Yeah. Part of me also thinks that maybe this guy is just a sick and twisted individual as a Michigan AD and would just love to see Tennessee go into Columbus and just kick their ass and then Ryan Day get fired. Maybe that was part of it. If that was part of it, I'll respect. I would do the same thing. But I would prefer Tennessee have a home game and just do that and then make Ohio State come to an environment they've never played in before. So I think that would have been a lot more fun to see. Have been like, oh, you know, this is real. This is different than playing. Yeah, I get the big house is got to fit a lot of people in there, but I've heard it's a golf crowd for the most part. So
yeah, and it's not very exciting football for the most part up there.
Yeah.
Plus, Tennessee, I will say, with how I saw Nico play against Georgia, that was, I mean, one of his better games, at least the first half. He played great in the first half, just with how he handled the crowd early. I mean, it didn't affect him at all. So who knows, JT? This may be what you want. You know, like, think of how much pressure is on Ohio State. So much more now that it's at home. Ryan Day, like, I do think there's a little bit of an advantage. It's a road game, right? A road game. It's going to be a tough environment, but I will say there's a little bit of an advantage with less pressure. There's definitely more pressure on Ryan Day and them just being in that stadium after what just happened in that stadium. They just tried to plant a field on the 50, a 6-6 team, and now they're playing for a national championship. So yeah, I think it's going to be a traumatic thing. In Tennessee, look, you could have what I had, JT, what I wanted at Alabama, just a complete burial of a program. Tennessee could bury Ohio State. That's what we're looking at. If they lose, I mean, Ohio State's still a good program, but they're firing their coach. It's somewhat of a reset. So, I mean, I would love it. You know what I mean? Like you had that opportunity, think of the scenes of of Columbus, man. If that goes poorly, that's going to be the game of the week. I think that's a double OT written all over it. Something crazy, but yeah, I think there may be, who knows, JT, some advantage to the road.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll plant the flag one more time before they ban it and make it a felony.
That's crazy, dude.
Soft stuff from the armpit of the USA in Ohio.
What would they think, like when they're going through that, and like donors like, look, man, we can't have this? Or what do they think? Like, all right, once this gets out on Twitter, I don't know how this is. Like, they have to know this is bad. Like, this is gonna be bad.
Oh, but, I mean, they definitely look soft. I mean, it's just a classic Ohio State. That is the epitome of the type of program that Ohio State is. Like, and the type of fan base, and just what Ohio State is like, they're soft, man. They're just soft. Like they're a soft football program. You can see it on the field. They're soft at how they react to losing, and it's showing. It's showing right now, and I think it's going to show in 2 weeks too. So,
yep. Again, that's number one on my list for these games. On what type of game it's going to be, but yeah. So my family members, look, guys, that stat. If you're like, Jack, this is pretty harsh on Ohio State. I mean, not beating an SEC team in 10 years, you shouldn't have anything to say, really. I mean, that's a crazy stat, but hey, you can win it all back, Ohio State. You have a path in front of you to remedy this situation. So we'll see what they're made out of. Let's see if they are SEC tough, JT. Moving on. We're going to stay on that side of the bracket, because as a Georgia fan, it was very hurt my eyes, JT. Almost, dazing out for a second with how much orange I'm seeing. I already had to play Clemson, Texas twice, Tennessee this year, and look how much orange is on that side.
All back. You get to see them again.
Yeah, I might have to see them all, one of them again. But my initial thoughts for that Clemson-Texas game is I think Texas may be in trouble. They haven't shown me anything. Quinn Ewers scares me. Clemson can score. So yeah, I think that has some upset potential written all over it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a test for Texas. This is probably the second best team they played all year. I guess if you want to throw Texas A&M in there, they could have an argument, but this is their second real game of the season that they played against a ranked opponent. I think Clemson's got a great opportunity in this game. I really do. I think there's two good defenses in this game. I think it could be a low-scoring affair, maybe a rock fight. I think if it is a rock fight, that kind of goes in Clemson's favor more than it goes in Texas's favor. I think Klubnik is right up there with Quinn Ewers. I don't think Quinn Ewers has been that impressive at all since he's come back from his injury. So for me, this game is definitely there is a good chance that Clemson could win this game and move on to the next round.
JT, another theme of the show is trivia questions. When's the last time that Clemson was double-digit favorite? It's a while.
I don't even know, man.
2012.
Oh my gosh.
Georgia, believe it or not.
Is that the Gurley?
I was at that game.
Gurley kickoff return?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what that was.
Yep.
But yeah, it's been a while, and his record is very, very good as an underdog.
Dabo?
So I like Clemson in this spot a lot. 10.5 points. It's almost, in a game like this, I just feel like everyone would have my thought of this is way too many points. So it kind of scares me a little bit. But I'll go ahead and sneak preview my lock. That's my lock of the week is Clemson.
Clemson plus 10.5, huh?
Yeah, that's way too many points, man, for a Texas team that can't really score. I guess they could. I don't know. Quinn Ewers scares me, man. If you watch that game, he's got happy feet in the pocket. Like it, Georgia guys are 3-4 steps away. He's off his back foot. Uh, I'm sure after the season, we're going to be hearing something like this guy's hurt.
Yeah, I think if you can get after him, you can cause some issues for him. I really do. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they might utilize Arch Manning if they utilize him a little bit more and use his legs. I thought they would do that more in the Georgia game, but they didn't. So they've had an interesting game plan against the Dogs the last these 2 times they play. They've kind of just tried to, I guess for the most part in that game they just couldn't finish a drive and get in the end zone. But they had a lot of success running the ball with Arch against Texas A&M and some of these other teams they played, and so be interesting to see if they try to go back to that against Clemson.
Yeah, I think the Arch experiment. I feel like they would have used it. I mean, if they were really serious about maybe using him, they would have used it against Georgia. I feel like, but I'm sure. I think Arch Manning gives them. As a Georgia fan, Arch Manning scares me way more. So I don't know if it's just a loyalty thing, but I don't think we're going to see Arch Manning in any more of a capacity that we're seeing him. I mean, maybe more in the red zone, and I think that's what they wanted to use against Georgia. Like in overtime, the very first play, he took the snap, but JT, they didn't get to the red zone. They were not in the red zone all game. I don't think their touchdown came on a long pass. Even when they kicked these field goals, they might have got like right inside the 20, but they never got to the 10 all night. So yeah, I don't think we're going to see Arch.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
See what Sark has up his sleeve.
Yeah, but I think, it'll be a good coaching matchup. I think Clemson will be able to score some points. But yeah, let's go ahead and pick. I guess your Tennessee pick speaks for itself. What you got in this game? Spread and
Tennessee Ohio State game.
Or I know what you got in that.
I'm probably going to surprise you here. Actually, probably not. I like the under. In that game. I think it's kind of going to – for me, I look at the game, and I think Tennessee is going to try to dominate the line of scrimmage with that defensive line. Ohio State's offensive line has looked pretty bad for the most part this year, and that's kind of been their weakness all season. And Tennessee's defensive line has been their strength. So I think they're going to try to dominate and run the football and use the SEC Player of the Year and Dylan Sampson and try to dominate the line of scrimmage. And for me, I look at Ohio State. I think if they can hit a few big shots, that's kind of their ticket in this game and what could maybe take this game over. It'll just be, for whatever reason, they don't seem to want to use their weapons on the outside very much. You look at that Michigan game and Egbuka and Carnell Tate and who's the other guy?
Oh, Jeremiah Smith. Like very underutilized. I don't think Will Howard is a great passer. I think he's athletic and he can run the ball, but I think Tennessee's going to try to make this a rock fight, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. A lot of Tennessee's games have gone under this year, so I do like the under. All of them almost.
Pretty much all of them.
Did Georgia go over?
I'm not
right on the line.
I'm not sure, but Vegas has overshot their over-unders pretty much all year, so I do like the under in this game.
And it's what? It's at what?
47.5, I think. Yeah, 47.5.
I like my score prediction is 2016.
2016. Yeah.
I do have Ohio State. I think Tennessee is going to get out to a great start. I see Tennessee up early in this game, kind of like Georgia. Like I think the crowd's not going to bother him at all. I see Jeremiah Smith making a play at the end of the game. That's what I keep seeing. I'm trying to envision the end of the game. That's what I see. But under, I like that.
This will be I'm excited to watch the Jermod McCoy, Jeremiah Smith matchup. I think this will be Jermod McCoy didn't get the the recognition he probably should have, because he's had a hell of a year and did not get AP first team all honors or anything like that. So to me,
Dylan Sampson should have got or for the running back award, he should have been in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened either. SEC Player of the Year, but Jermon McCoy should have been first team all SEC. So I don't know how that got lost in the translation, because in my opinion, he's been at least the top 3 corner in the SEC this year. So
that Alabama pick was sick.
Yeah, he's had some good games. So it's hard guy to throw against.
Under. Love the under. I guess who knows? That may be our lock, or one of our locks here. Clemson, Texas. As I said, Clemson plus 10.5 is my lock. It's a slight sprinkle for me. It's a slight sprinkle. Cloudy with a chance of meatballs there, JT.
A little money line.
Yeah, a little money line. Go ahead. What's your bet? While I look see what that money line is. Show's brought to you by BetUS, as always.
I got the under in that one, that's for sure. Tennessee game.
Let's see. Bear with me here. My guess for this money line would be 750. Is that crazy?
For Clemson?
I don't really know. I'm not good at money lines.
I'm seeing plus 340.
Plus 340.
Yep.
Okay. All righty. Well, the orange side. Thank God Georgia doesn't have to see any orange for a while, at least till the Natty, I don't think.
Yeah. They got a good draw.
Yeah. We look, we've seen enough of orange already. We've already played that whole side. We've already played everyone over there. So, yeah, moving to the other side here, a little bit less dramatic, I would say. I think this is let me get my photo up here. I think this side is going to be less dramatic than the orange side here, but we'll start with the marquee game on that side. I don't think Penn State SMU is going to be much of a contest. I think Penn State smushes them pretty early. I'll cut to you, JT, in a minute if you have a different opinion on Penn State there, but we'll start here. Indiana, Notre Dame. I think Indiana is I think Notre Dame's too physical, too big. Indiana got pushed around by Ohio State. Riley Leonard, big quarterback. I can see him rushing for 100 yards. I just think it's going to be all game long, and Indiana's going to have to score every possession to stay in it, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to agree with you, but I think that's going to be the case here. I think if I look at Indiana and I kind of look at that Ohio State game, and they got off to a really good start. Great start, actually. I remember texting you saying, "Oh crap, I think Indiana's got a shot in this game," and then kind of they shot themselves in the foot with the punt, dropped the punt, and it kind of just all unraveled from there. So I think for them to win this game, they're going to have to play the perfect game. They're going to have some things go their way, turnovers and maybe a couple of penalties here or there. But we have seen this Notre Dame team fall in the worst way possible too, at home. So, you still got to look at that loss in Northern Illinois and be like, well, this team they aren't foolproof. That's for sure. Even if they do have a good run game and a good defense, they aren't foolproof and they have flaws. So I agree with you, though. I do think Notre Dame is going to win this game, but I don't think they're going to cover 7.5. I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people think. I think Indiana's going to hang in there and make this a game. Even if they don't do it, I think Notre Dame will keep them in the game quite possibly. So I think if you can make Riley Leonard a quarterback and make him throw the ball, you have a really good chance to really stymie their offense and kind of make them go earn it. Because I don't think he's a great passer, and I think you take his legs away, then you make him one-dimensional. We're going to see if he can go win a game.
Yep. For the most part, I think Notre Dame's got a really good defense. So I say that because I don't think Indiana's played their best defense they played, JT, and tell me if I'm wrong. I think it's Michigan. I mean, that's the best defense they played all year, and they struggled. Ohio State, you could say them. They've let up a lot of points to different teams. So physical defenses, and this Notre Dame team is a very physical defense. I think they can cause some problems from up front. But one thing that you said about the Ohio State game, they did start off good. Plus, people think Ohio State just dominated. Ohio State scored 21 points off of the punt formation itself.
Mm-hmm.
Punt return, punt block. Take those 21 points a game. We're a one-score game. I know it's part of football, but I mean that's kind of a fluke play.
Yeah.
So again, goes back to Big Ten. It's hard to know what we know. I don't know what we know at this point because they're playing each other to some degree. And, the more you really dig into it, it's like, well, are these teams even good? I mean, Ohio State, they beat Nebraska by 3 at home. Like, there's just lots of question marks. I think Indiana, Ohio State are a lot closer than that scoreboard said. Now, I don't know if that's saying a ton of Indiana or saying less of Ohio State, but regardless, I just think Notre Dame's the more physical team. So I would take them minus the 7.5. And I like the over as well. I like the over.
Yeah. I think that they were a little bit overwhelmed in that game. Haven't been in a spot like that in a long time. Playing in a top 5 matchup, going on the road, big noon kickoff. I think there were a lot of factors in there. Conditions weren't great. I'm pretty sure it was raining. Like you said, they lost that third phase on the special teams side of the ball, and that cost them a lot too. But I think you look at this opportunity. Yeah, it's a big game. Yeah, it's it's the playoff, but it's also a rivalry game, and I'm sure there's a lot of hate from Indiana and towards Notre Dame because University of Indiana. That should be the state school, not Notre Dame. So I think there's some resentment there, and I think they're going to come ready to play, and they're going to really give Notre Dame a game here.
Yep, this is show they're not a basketball school. I mean, it's like the graphic here. It's the Indiana Bowl state championship, right? Anyone else? Is there another team from Indiana that's decent? No.
You produced little brother.
Oh yeah, well, they're little brother, maybe even much. They haven't even been born yet. But sounds like we're on agreement there with Notre Dame. Penn State, I'll keep my side short here with that. I think it's a Tyler Warren Express. I think it's a running, passing, catching type of day for Tyler. And Nittany Lions, we are roll. Easy.
It's gonna be cold and snowy. Those ponies don't know what they're getting into.
No. One small thing on SMU. We don't need to spend much time on this game, I don't think. Brett, that coach, dude, he needs to shut up. He's just whining. I just really trust that the committee makes the right decision here, and no one gets robbed because it would be a screw job. Did you hear what he said? Like right after the game, he's like, "I'm not even going to make my case because it would be a robbery. It would be like," I'm like, "Dude, you're not that good. We all know you're not that good. You should just be grateful that you're even in the discussion."
Yeah.
You should have won the game if you really wanted to be in. So yeah, let's get them out of here. And this is good, JT, that this all happens this year. So again, they can shift up how they do these ranking, or they seed, and hopefully the committee will look at next year. If there's a question for one of our teams, maybe 2-3 losses, opposed to Minnesota, that's 11-1, that played Sister of the Poor, and so I think it'd be big for us for these teams to get blown out. I think it helps us long term.
Yes, agreed.
All righty. Well, we'll finish the show out with our locks. I got Clemson and my dark horse I'll give you here, and we kind of talked about it a little bit. I think Arizona State, whoever wins that Clemson, the Orange Bowl there, Clemson and Texas, Cam Scatterbo's a dog, dude. I mean, they can give them problems, either of those teams. And if they win that game, you never know what can happen. You got to win the first one.
Yeah. Kenny Dillingham got the boys playing. Playing some inspired ball.
That's right.
Well, we'll see here over the next few weeks how it plays out.
That's right. What's your lock?
My lock is the under in the Tennessee Ohio State game. Under 47.5 is my lock.
Cool deal. Any final thoughts? You don't have really an upset pick? Clemson?
Clemson. I'd say Clemson's my upset pick. Part of me wants to take Indiana, but I won't do it. I think that's the more likely one in my opinion, but I think that's just coming from my hatred for Notre Dame and the fraudulent activity that they continue to display every season.
Yeah, that does kind of scare me a little bit. Is like with betting that game, it's like Notre Dame, they always let you down at some point. I mean, it's coming at some point.
Got to join a conference, man. Yeah, you can't keep playing Army and Navy every year and saying you're a good football team. Can't do it.
Well,
Stanford.
They can. They absolutely can with this 12-team playoff. They can hide behind that forever if they don't change anything. Well, I mean, I say hide behind it. They can hide behind it and get bounced second round like they're gonna every year. But who knows?
We've seen how it's played out the last few times they've made the college football playoff. It's been a quick exit.
Yeah.
First half.
Go ahead.
A first half, give up and call it a season. Put it that way.
Yeah, I will say they have I think they had a better quarterback than they've had recently. I guess not.
No, he's not really a quarterback. He runs.
But I feel like he just fits Notre Dame. Like at least this year's Notre Dame. They're physical. They play good defense. They got a Haynes King at quarterback. But yeah.
Make him throw. Make him throw. That's all I can tell you.
Yep. So the only last thing I wanted to say is, guys, go look up that stat for yourself. I'm not blowing smoke. I had to look it up for myself. 10 years. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. That should be on newspapers, New York Times. Yeah, especially if Tennessee wins. That's got to be the headline.
ESPN won't bring that one up. Won't bring that up against Ohio State.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, soft. It's a soft program.
Well,
Born on third base, still standing on third base.
Yeah, he's been on third base for a while now. He's only gonna go. He's got to start back at home somewhere else at this point. So just show schedule. I'm thinking JT. I mean, we kind of did I guess there's no football. So
Army Navy this weekend. Army Navy.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go with Army.
I'll take him as well. I like Monken.
Taking Army. Don't know what that is. Don't know anything, but I'm gonna take Army.
Well, who knows? We may do something for after, if you want to, JT, like a post game of that Ohio State Tennessee. We can do that.
Yeah, we got we got 3 games on that day, correct? Penn State at noon. Then I think Clemson and Texas at 3:30 or 4. And then, 8 o'clock. Yep, that's it. 8 o'clock, Tennessee, Ohio State. There's a weird TV. SMU and Penn State is on TNT. They showed football. Don't know how that's going to work. Wonder who'll be announcing that one.
That's never happened. Yeah.
At least we don't have to listen to Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. I was so scared. I was so scared that they were going to call a Tennessee-Ohio State game, and I was have to go listen to them the whole time, just go on and on and on about their darling Ohio State.
Gus Johnson he's really lost it. He's washed.
Yeah. And Joel Klatt hates the SEC, so.
Yeah, he does. He's the number one figurehead for this propaganda that we see. Yeah. Number one paid propagandist for Big Ten. And not even Big Ten, dude. He was a West guy. I mean, he's a Big Ten guy, but he's also a Pac-12 guy. Was a Pac-12 guy. Yeah. He was always arguing for USC last year. That shit.
He's a Buffs guy.
Yeah. That's why. But yeah, we'll see you. Like I said, we'll do a video next week to recap that game if find some time there. But yeah, like I said, goal is 400 by next Friday. I want to check it out. Comment your score prediction or dark horse potential to win it all. Once again, this is Jack Mack, High Top Sports Georgia. And with that, go Dogs.
Go Vols. Parlay the locks.
Yeah, under Tennessee, Ohio State, Clemson plus 10.5. Lock it up.
parlay